For over 70 years, Kai Tak Airport served as the gateway to Hong Kong, but it was no ordinary airport. Nestled in the heart of a bustling city and surrounded by buildings, its infamous Runway 13 approach became one of the most challenging in the world. With dramatic low-altitude turns and razor-thin margins for error, Kai Tak earned a reputation as one of the most incredible airports ever built. This is where our story ends. But this is where our story begins. November 4th, 1993. China Airlines Flight 605 was gracefully cruising at an altitude of 33,000 feet. As the plane was nearing its top of descent, the pilots received the latest weather for Kai Tak, which reported rain, wind shear, and moderate to severe turbulence on approach. As the crew of Flight 605 were descending and navigating their way towards the airport, the aircraft ahead of them on approach was an MD-82. Despite the challenging conditions, they landed safely. During the approach, the pilots completed the landing checklist for a flaps 30 landing with the auto brakes controller selected to position 2 and the spoilers armed. Rain and significant turbulence were now hammering the 747, making the already difficult approach even more challenging. The passengers began holding onto their armrests, and some even reciting prayers for a safe landing. At 1,500 feet, one pilot noted that the wind speed was about 50 knots or 92 kilometers an hour. A few seconds later, the pilot flying disconnected the autopilot and auto throttle systems to take manual control of the plane, as he reportedly wasn't happy with how it was dealing with the conditions. As the plane flew past the famous checkerboard hill and began its final turn toward the runway, the crew saw an amber
wind shear
warning. The captain noticed the aircraft was unexpectedly swaying side to side and pitching up and down. He kept flying without saying anything. By the time they finished the turn, both pilots realized the plane had dropped far too low and was well below the ideal approach path shown by the airport's visual landing system. Despite the unstable approach, the giant 747 touched down gently onto runway 13. But things were about to go from good to very bad. The aircraft then began an undesired roll to the left. The plane, out of control, was barely maintaining contact with the runway, and after 7 harrowing seconds, the co-pilot noticed a critical alert was flashing. The auto brake system had disarmed. He urgently relayed the message to his captain and reminded him that the reverse thrust had not yet been engaged. Almost simultaneously, the captain deployed reverse thrust on all engines and applied firm manual braking via foot pedals. The end of the runway loomed ahead. Both pilots quickly realized the remaining distance might not be enough to bring this aircraft to a halt. The co-pilot then joined in on applying maximum foot pressure to the brakes. In a final attempt to avoid catastrophe, the captain veered the aircraft sharply to the left, but it was too late. The massive 747 overshot the runway, and in a horrifying moment, the aircraft entered the sea. Investigators concluded that the runway overrun of China Airlines Flight 605 was not caused by a mechanical failure or extreme weather alone, but by a chain of human errors and procedural lapses in the final moments of flight. The aircraft was fully capable of performing a safe landing or go-around, and while the gusty winds were present, they were within forecasted limits and manageable. The co-pilot, underbriefed and underskilled for such challenging conditions, was unable to meaningfully assist. The auto brakes were disarmed, reverse thrust was delayed, and by the time the pilots realized their aircraft wouldn't stop in time, it was too late. And despite the dramatic outcome, the evacuation was calm and effective. Everybody on board safely evacuated.